So this is a large part of what I do at AIARE is answer these questions. How do I get involved with AIARE? How do I become an AIARE course provider? I've been doing this for 25 years. Do I really have to do all this stuff? What really defines an AIARE course? And as Ben mentioned, I think that little bullseye kind of schematic does a pretty good job in kind of outlining a conceptual framework. We provide a minimum standard, right? A minimum standard that will define all AIARE courses. The public, prospective employers, people in the industry, if they see on a resume or a student comes to you saying, I took an AIARE course, all they know is they've at least met these minimum standards, right? It's up to you to take that above and beyond. So we provide you with those blue components of the bullseye. Some learning objectives that have to be met, and some tools to help you achieve those learning objectives. Those tools are expected to be used and implemented. If you've been doing this a long time and you already have a ton of your own curriculum and a bunch of your own ways, techniques, lesson plans, PowerPoints for getting to the learning objectives, that's fine. You're going to rely on what AIARE provides you much less than someone who's just starting out and going through this process from the beginning. So the challenge for the experienced instructor is get familiar with the AIARE curriculum, the minimum standards, and integrate whatever AIARE is providing into what you're already doing. AIARE is not asking any instructor to throw out what they've been doing for a long time. In fact, we ask you to share that so we can incorporate some of those ideas and provide more tools and ideas to everyone else in this room. Right? We really do view this as kind of a collaborative effort. So it's just a matter of integrating what AIARE is providing into what you're already doing. And so what defines an AIARE Level 1? And so when I get these questions, we've got the on-course elements. So are the learning outcomes met? And they're very clearly articulated in the AIARE materials. There's learning outcomes for every lesson plan. Are the learning outcomes met? That's the first and foremost question for us, right? Have the learning outcomes been met? And in order to achieve those learning outcomes, we provide you with some of these blue components, right? So we provide you with updated material on an annual basis. This stuff does get revised every year. Some years there are more fundamental, substantial changes than other years, where it may just be refining and tweaking and updating things with better photos and that kind of stuff. But every year we give you updated materials. And that's part of being a course provider. And so you not only get updated course materials, you're expected to use them, right? To the degree it makes sense. It doesn't mean, like we've been saying, to take the AIARE stock stuff and just run through the PowerPoints. Right? It means look at the new materials and pluck out whatever's new and integrate it into what you're already doing. It implies that you're using the decision-making framework as some kind of way to organize your course and contextualize lesson plans. That the student manuals and the field books are used on the course. The disparity between the manuals and the field books has really become much closer and tighter over the last several years. And now they're to the point where they're inextricably intertwined, right? The manual references the field book references the manual, is a critical component of teaching a course, of using the AIARE curriculum. So it's expected that the field books get used. The case studies are implemented. We provide you some. If you've been doing this a long time and have your own, then use those. That's fine. We just provide them for you in case you'd like to try something new or don't have any of your own. It needs to be a 24-hour course with 60% field time. So an AIARE course run to the minimum standards will comport with AAA guidelines. And it's important, those things are related. Right? And so if you run an AIARE course to standard, it will also comply with AAA guidelines as a course. Right? This is one of the guidelines for the AAA. And we didn't work on this in cahoots. We both came there as independent organizations. We used to run 2-day level 1s. That was the first kind of AIARE product. And as we tried to do this, and we're like, God, we're kind of missing some critical components, we were all honest with ourselves and be like, you can't do this in a week. Not well. We need 3 days minimum, and we all know that's a stretch. That's really hard to do. 24 hours minimum. Some people do it longer courses, and it needs to be 60% in field time at least. And then the contextual debrief, as Tim just alluded to, part of the course close. It's an integral part, as is essentially using the field book. The contextual debrief for the course close is an important component of the overall risk management of the course. right? We've got research to back it up. If we're not doing effective course closes, we're not really helping save lives through avalanche education. So it's expected that we do the contextual debrief at the end of the course. That's the on-course elements. If you meet these components, right, then it's an area level 1 course. From the on-course element disclosure. From the administrative elements, we expect to have a risk management plan in place, right? And we have some guidelines in the instructor manual about how to develop a risk management plan. If you have one already of your own that you've worked on over years, that's fine. We just expect that risk management is a key component of avalanche courses. Accidents do happen on avalanche courses, and we need to treat this as if we're really going into the backcountry. This isn't contrived, so we need real risk management plan. In order for it to be an area recognized course, it needs to be run by, under a course provider who is current with their dues and therefore has the current curriculum, material, and updates. It needs to be staffed with qualified and current instructors, right? And that is the impetus of the course provider. We don't police, but we do, we can only police on the back end. And we get the course information forms at the end of the season. And we can see, and this is becoming more and more, it's not, I'm not into policing, none of us are. It's just, it's now happening. Employers are asking for verification courses, and I get calls from someone applied for my ski patrol, or I want to be, I want to work at this resort, or I'm going up to Alaska to heli ski guide. My employer wants to see this, that I've taken an AIARE, whatever, level 1 or 2. In order for us to vouch for that, it needs to be recognized by AIARE, and part of that's the qualified course. So at the end of each season now, we get a sheet that says, here's the course I taught, here's the course provider, was these instructors, these dates, and here's my students. So if Richard comes and goes, I need you to tell my employer I took an AIARE level 2 that's recognized by AIARE. I just pull it up in the system, and now with our new database, this is really easy to do. I go, oh yeah, sure. He took one with Rick Grubin, who was working for Colorado Mountain School, and Estes Park. These are the instructors. They're all qualified. Yep, good to go. And AIARE can provide that verification for prospective employers if need be. We ask that, yeah.
Is the instructor list on the AIARE website reliable for providers to identify qualified?
Yeah, thanks for the question, Travis. So the list is reliable to the extent that you tell us what's going on. So if you have fulfilled level 1 course leader requirements, that doesn't automatically pop up in my inbox. You have to tell me, or Murph. Say, hey, I did all these things. Here's how I documented it. I believe now I'm a qualified AIARE level 1 course leader. We go, cool, check, 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 cool, great. And then we change the status on the website. So it's current to that degree. So if I haven't received an update, and this is sometimes what happens, people go, hey, my employer is looking and I'm not listed as a, well, you may not be listed because your dues aren't current. You may not be listed because you actually haven't fulfilled the requirements. Or you may not be listed just because you haven't told us that you fulfilled all these requirements. So it's kind of up to you guys to let us know. And it's not some formal, laborious process. It's like, let us know and we'll go, how did you fulfill these things? Some of them will have records for, some of them we won't. And if you tell us, we'll update it. So there's probably some out-of-date status up there. Permits and insurance, we don't police or check for permits, but we expect, and this is part of the new and revamped course provider agreement. Our course provider agreement used to be, that single page where essentially you agree to do these things, you sign it and send it back to us. And both AIARE and the AAA have gone through some legal review to make sure that we are complying with what needs to be complied with in order to cover our organizational ass, so to speak. And so the course provider agreement is not much different in terms of its implementation. You're very much agreeing to the same thing, but it's gotten, it's now longer. It's now like 3 or 3.5 pages long. And part of it is that we ask that you operate in areas where you're permitted to operate, and that you're insured to operate, and that we will ask for kind of that proof of insurance at this point, because we need AIARE to be covered. And then the administrative elements is at the end of this each season, or some people do it at the end of each course, we get you can scan it, mail it to us, whatever, that course information sheet. And that's how we update the National Registry, which will be launched for this season. So past seasons, we were collecting those course information sheets. That stuff will be entered into our database. And then from now on, this will just be like automatically updated in the database. So now we have a registry of instructors, providers, and now students who have taken AIARE courses. So we'll need a provider agreement essentially signed and returned to the AIARE office for this year for sure and every year. So, to loop back to Ben's nice schematic, we've got the blue components, the essentials, the student learning outcomes. And then what you can offer, your expertise in terrain, the red sphere, your outer, circle of that bullseye, is what you can really bring to the course. I didn't want to end this on a, this whip-cracking note, like, hey, here's what an AIARE Level 1 course needs to be. It's very much, I think, really easy to fulfill these minimum standards. We're just providing you some tools to ask you to kind of meet these minimum standards, and many of you are probably doing this already, right? So the whole idea is take ownership of the course. This is your baby, right? We're just giving you some tools to do it, but you need to bring that whole red sphere to this course, and it's your expertise and your experience as an instructor, and you have the full ability and freedom to customize the experience and the course agenda. This is what's going to make, Richard's courses better than mine, for example. Not all AIARE courses are equal. They just are equal in the sense that they meet a common set of minimum standards. That's it. There are still going to be better AIARE courses and worse AIARE courses, just like there's better doctors and worse doctors, but they all at least have passed the board, right? This is what we bring as instructors. This is what makes one instructor better than the other. Their ability to implement these kind of 3 M's, right? And here's where you can empower, right? Here's where you are empowered as an instructor to make your course better than the next AIARE provider, better than the next avalanche course down the road or the state over, right? It's your knowledge, your case histories, your local knowledge, and your experience as a practical decision maker, and really your ability as a teacher to communicate those things effectively. So does that help? I get a lot, this is a lot of what I do, is what do I need to do? Because people are asking, I want this to be an AIARE course, what do I have to comply with? And that's it. You've just got to comply with those basic requirements, meet the learning outcomes, and meet those minimum standards and objectives. The rest of it is up to you. And if you've got great ideas on how to make our stuff, our tools better, please share. Please share. It's the only reason we're here right now.